welcome to Up the Villa podcast. If you're new to our channel, subscribe, drop this video a like, and get involved in everything that we discuss on this episode. So it's pretty much our Burnley preview. I'm delighted to be joined by Luis Miguel Echegaray, top Villa fan coming all the way from New York, and he has an amazing podcast, the quegolazo podcast on YouTube. I watched it this afternoon with Fabrizio Romano. There's a little bit of Villa, but just a general overall football chat on transfers. So how are you, mate?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the intro. I can't make it all Villa, otherwise CBS Sports will just fire me, but I do try and put it in as much as I can. So I really appreciate you inviting me here, by the way. Your intro is amazing. I'm really jealous. I love it.
Cheers. Thank you very much. So we'll kick it off with you then, Luis. So what have you made of Villa? How do you see the summer going?
Yeah, good question there, Luke, to begin with. Once again, thank you for everybody watching your great show, and lovely to be here with you, Ryan, and Justin as well. Listen, here's the thing. Whenever I get asked this question, I think about it in steps. We can't just, think about the season and think about, how we're going to end it. We also have to think about how it began, right? It began with obviously Dean Smith in charge and with a lot of expectations, but we were worried because obviously it was our first season without Jack Grealish. And I think that's something that we need to remember. We brought in Danny Ings, Buendia, Leon Bailey, thinking, per Christian Perslow's words, that this was going to be the trifecta that was going to help us, supplement all the productivity that Jack Grealish was doing. I don't think, we expected to struggle as much moving on from Jack Grealish. Obviously, the focus was so much on Jack whenever he entered the pitch. And B, it was obviously going to be difficult as well because Leon Bailey, I'm sure, sadly, his injury-prone situation really was a massive factor. Danny Ings as well. So there were many things that really, at least at the beginning of the season, were making me worry more so than thought. Nobody wanted to see Dean Smith fail. Nobody. But the facts spoke for themselves, right? The numbers spoke them themselves, not necessarily in that short period, but over the course of 12 months. So something had to be done. Steven Gerrard, in my opinion, has done very well. And we have to remember a few things. He only arrived in mid-November, right? So he had to deal with obviously a massive winter break as well, Christmas, injuries, etc. This is not his complete ideal squad, right? I think it's close, but not so. So this preseason, to me, is, since I've been a Villa fan, one of the biggest, most important preseasons we're going to experience, because this is now, next season for me, going to be the next step. Where are we going to go? So I will give it, Luke, I'll give it a B+ season for us. It's not quite an A, but I think that's because of all the reasons that I just said, but we can get there. And the fact that we're adding the academy and bringing in Felipe Coutinho for 20 million, by the way, come on, that's ridiculous. We don't talk about that enough, right? And also obviously bringing out the academy and obviously judging what's going to happen with Wendy, etc. So that's what I give it. I give it a B+. We need to win against Burnley because obviously I'm not expecting too much away at the City.
Yeah, and to be fair, we are a pretty positive podcast, and you are embracing our positivity.
Yeah, definitely.
Some are going to comment now, giving the season like a Z- or something. So, yeah. So, how did you get to sort of like consume it all the way from New York, watching the Villa?
Well, what's funny is because I'm Peruvian, for those who may not know, but I immigrated to England when I was 11, 12. And, I grew up in England, and obviously everybody should know the story. If they don't, it's my pinned tweet. I've bored people enough with it. So they know that, I know very well, what it's like to support the Villa in England. And I have family in England. I go there as much as I can. When I moved to New York and the US, even now in these last few years, watching Villa has never been easier. The access to the Premier League here in the States is ridiculous. It's better than in England, obviously, because of the 3 p.m. blackout over there, and Sky Sports obviously taking a lot of the attention, BT coming in, etc. But here in the US, it's very easy accessible to watch Villa. I can watch it anywhere at any time, every single game. So it's been great. It's been a joy. Not for my wife. She wants to divorce me now. My poor American wife had no idea what Aston Villa was until I entered her life.
She does now.
She definitely does now. Yeah.
We're all in the same boat. We are all in the same boat.
And then when you're chucking, you got to do a podcast and talk about it and do all this.
I always tell her, look, at the very least, it pays the bill. So you got to put up with me chatting about Villa and stuff.
It's not a bad way to pay the bills, is it?
Well, we'll try and make it happen, hopefully.
So we'll move on to Burnley then. We only played them a couple of days ago, really. It really feels like that anyway. So Justin, come on then. How are you feeling? Final home game down at Villa Park. How's it going to go?
I'm very confident. I think we showed what happened away at Burnley, that what we're capable of. Even with them in decent form, to be fair, when we played them, I think we're all a little bit edgy and nervous going into that game. But to be honest, one of our most comfortable wins of the whole season, wasn't it? We were outstanding for very, very large parts of that game. So I don't really see a lot changing, if I'm honest. We're at home. They're in even more of a precarious position now with Leeds' late point at the weekend that's now dropped them into the bottom three. I don't think Leeds are going to win their last game, so I think it's up to Burnley to try and get something out of their last two. So they're going to be coming to Villa Park all guns blazing. They're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at us, aren't they? They got nothing to lose. They got tons of injuries. They got, a caretaker manager in charge. They've got the centre half as the assistant manager. So it's, they're in real turmoil, but they're battling away. They're really having a go, aren't they? You can't. We had Stephen Wood on, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? And he played for Burnley, and he said they'll just battle for their lives, and that's what I expect. I expect a tough physical game. I think they'll come at us from the start, but I think we can pick them off. I think with our quality, I think without the players we've got, I think we can pick them off, and I think we can do as well, if not better, than we did, away. After the weekend's disappointing draw against Palace, it'd be nice to go out on a nice big win. So it could be a silly game, if I'm honest. I think it could be one of them games that's just a real memorable game. That if we go 1-0 up, they're going to have to double down and try even harder. So it could be one of them real memorable nights at Villa Park under the lights, where it could be a really mad scoreline. But whatever happens, I think we can win the game.
And Ryan, how do you think Burnley can approach this then? Because they've got 2 games to go. They need to not lose this game. So what's their approach going to be? Are they just going to sit in, keep it tight, try and get a draw, and then hopefully if they draw, they go back above Leeds, don't they? So what do you think their approach is going to be?
Oh, tough one for them, because I think they'd won 4 in 3, hadn't they, before they played us, and I think maybe was a bit overconfident. They were sky high, and it was a very, very open end-to-end game. Don't get me wrong, Burnley had chances. It was up and down, but it was just the ruthlessness of Ings, the magic of Buendia, and if Buendia is to start again, they've got to deal with him, because at Turf Moor, he just had the pitch to himself. He had so much space. It's unreal, and he executed them through balls. So for Burnley, I think they need to tighten up from that performance. I think they did tighten up against Tottenham, although I think it was like 20 shots on goal they conceded, but I think they went 3 at the back and 2 up top. So do they approach it like Watford approached us at Villa Park, where they did sit tight and they hit us on the counter-attack? Burnley have got players. They've got pace. They've got Dwight McNeil, haven't they, who's very pacey and he can put in a great ball in. So I'm expecting them. I'll probably think they will try and keep it tight and do what Watford did to us and try and hit us. And, when the scores are level anyway, like Justin just touched on there, if we go a goal up, then they've got to go for it. And now it's do or die now for them, isn't it?
Like a cup game, isn't it?
Yeah. And we was in that position a few seasons back, and we had to go toe for toe with Arsenal and just get that result and pull off a shock. And at the minute, the way Villa are playing and the way Burnley are playing, it probably would be a shock, and that's what they've got to perform. So I think it'll be a tough game, personally.
So, Lewis, what we normally do, we normally have an episode where we predict the lineup and we get it wrong every single week. So I'm now going to task you with
Getting our first one right.
The midfield three.
Yeah, right.
So you've got to pick the midfield three and the front three. So what do you think we're going for? Because the back sort of five just picks itself. Because Cons will be out, so Chambers will be in. So do you think maybe he might start Chukwuemeka just the last home game, or do you think he's going to try and, I don't know, is it sort of out of respect? He can't change too much knowing Burnley's position. What do you think he's going to do?
Yeah, it's a good question, Luke. And don't worry, I'm not gonna be your lucky charm here. I'm almost always wrong as well, just because Stevie G just is kind of really puzzling me sometimes. I understand. I was a little perplexed at the fact that he didn't change a single player in that Crystal Palace game. I thought if there was going to be a game to at least rotate, was that one, only because Crystal Palace are so good at taking advantage when we lose possession, and it didn't seem that we had that lineup suited to that. So, all right, well, listen, against this Burnley side, I think the boys, Ryan and Justin, said it quite rightly. I think it's going to be a victory, but it's going to be a tricky one. In fact, I worry sometimes when we face teams like Burnley at home, because I feel like we play to their weaknesses as opposed to playing to our advantages. So I want us to be more adventurous. I want to see Coutinho and Buendia start. I just want that. I know it's not going to happen because it's a midweek game, and I think Steven Gerrard will sit Coutinho, actually, and he will allow Buendia to once again dictate, just like he did at Turf Moor. But if I'm going to give you with what I think will happen as opposed to what I want will happen, I think that triangle, I think Carney will get a start. I think it's a good opportunity for Steven Gerrard to say, look, I know that you want your minutes, and I know obviously that this preseason is going to be important in the summer in terms of your future. So let's get you some minutes here. So I'm hoping that CVG will say, look, let's put Carney in there. Now, Kamba worried me a little bit against Burnley. He was given a few 2 balls away. I know that that's not his best game in terms of distribution. I think he will sit. And I think Douglas Luiz will probably return once again to that sitting and sort of sit behind Carney. JJ will come back in that lineup. And then I think Buendia will probably, either be, just because I don't know. Here's the problem. Do you have a wide trio where you have a winger on one side, winger on the other, and then just supporting, of course, Ollie Watkins? Or do you have a tight trio? If that's the case, then I will have Buendia starting, Ollie Watkins as well. And then, I don't know, you just have to take your pick in that one, I guess, and just go with Danny Ings one more time. But I hope I see Carney starting in this one. Irok Bunham would be an interesting one as well, just in the final home game of the season. I just know one thing. Douglas Luiz will probably sit, Carney will start, and Buendia will start ahead of Coutinho. I would love to see both of them at the same time, but I don't think it's going to happen.
To be fair, I think that's what I was sort of thinking in my head anyway. I just think Carney will start this game. I just think Gerrard, I just think he's going to play him. I think he's gave him minutes. I think he was probably unfortunate that he couldn't come on against Palace because we had the injury to Konsa, which meant you basically a sub down, aren't you?
And you brought up a good point, Luke. Like, I wasn't even thinking about Carney starting, but it's a good point. He's not going to start against City. This is the last home game. Yeah. Steven Gerrard will probably make him think, look, Villa Park is right here behind you. Let's see what you got as a starter. So it's a really good point. Yeah, I see Carney starting. Absolutely.
Cool.
Sorry, the last 5 minutes of the game against Palace, we were really good, and into the injury time. So there was about a good 10 minutes when we really could have won the game, to be honest. We were dominating, and I did notice that they took Danny Ings off, and he went with Watkins up top, and then it was almost back to a very Dean Smithish type formation, where he had Louise and McGinn sitting, and then 3 ahead of them, and then the one up top. So could it be maybe a chance to try that? Last home game, you could have Louise and McGinn sitting in the 2, and then you could have Carney in the 10, and then you could play Buendia and Coutinho either side of him with Ollie Watkins up top. Could he be that? He's notoriously stubborn with his formation, that he likes the way he plays and he doesn't really change it. But so it would be a real left wing thing to do, to start in a totally new formation. So it's
I forgot about McGinn, Justin. You make a good point. I think McGinn will come in there, but I think Ramsey will be the one instead of Coutinho in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Ramsey did really well when he come on. He did, he's the one in that midfield lot that we've got who actually does get the ball and drive at people as a centre midfielder, as opposed to like the two sort of attacking midfielders in Buendia and Coutinho who do that as part of their game, whereas JJ will sit deeper and run from deep. But so, yeah, it is interesting. Now, I think the only way to get Coutinho and Buendia in the team is to go 4-2-3-1, and it's something Gerrard hasn't shown really any signs of doing. So it would be unusual, but it'd be an interesting way to get those two and maybe Chukwuemeka in, and still leave a little bit of solidity in the two with Luiz and McGinn.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if McGinn starts. I don't know. I know he never normally sits out and he never has a rest, but I just think the eyes of the world is going to be on a Sunday. So I'm just expecting some, 4 or 5 changes. I think.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. It's time to do it. It's time to do it. It's the last home game of the season. We're not going to get Europe. We're not going to get relegated. Let's go. Let's try it out. Here's what I want, Luke. Here's what I want. I want Coutinho to start. I want Buendia to start. I want Douglas Luiz to sit. I want McGinn to just be on the bench for this one, right? And just put Carney up there, put Ollie Watkins up there, and just try and be a little bit more adventurous. And Danny Ings as well. Just give McGinn a little bit of a break. But I want to see Coutinho and Buendia. When Buendia came on against Burnley, what happened was Coutinho felt much looser. He felt much looser. It felt like the responsibility kind of just said to him, he said to himself, oh, wow, it's not just me conducting. Now I have Emmy here next to me. And it was beautiful to watch. I hope that maybe that happens. But once again, your point is spot on. If Chukwuemeka starts in this game, it'll be great to see because it'll be his sort of dress rehearsal and his final test. You want to play for the Villa? Show us what you got from starting the minute of this game.
Yeah,
you know what Villa do as well? They like to blindside you, don't they, Villa? They always like to drop some news, like Martinez has signed a contract, McGinn has signed a contract, Matty Cash has signed a contract, and they just drop these bombshells on a random Tuesday afternoon or anything. So, little prediction here, right? Because it's been muted a bit that Chukwuemeka is going to sign a new contract. So I'm guessing it will get announced on the Thursday afternoon, and then he'll be starting. That's my little vibe.
Take that, Kylian Mbappe and Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And then we rock up at the Etihad in front of Erling Haaland and stop City from winning the title.
Hey, we need to bring that. We need to bring that giant trophy, by the way, just to show them what it's like. Give them a little motivation.
Yeah. No,
just think one other thing on the formation. I think we've got to, as a fan base, we've got to try and accept that a lot of the Villa fans, when we had the Ings and Watkins debate, they can't play together. They can't play together. We had that for so long, but it's blatantly been shown they can play together. And the other sort of thing that's coming up now is the Buendia and Coutinho can't play together. They pick up the same positions. They can play together. They are two phenomenal footballers.
Absolutely.
with a footballing IQ off the scale, the pair of them. So there's no doubt in my mind that in the right formation, in a team that's built around them, like you said, Louis, if Coutinho's got the pressure taken off him by Buendia playing, who do you mark? Who do you pick up? Who do you as a defensive side, who do you pick up out of those two?
Yeah.
There is all the time.
I follow a lot of South American football, right? I cover the game a lot for CBS Sports as well, World Cup qualifiers and stuff. There is a team that's one of the favorites to win the entire World Cup. They didn't lose a single game in World Cup qualifiers, who has at times 3 number 10s playing, and that's Brazil. I'm not saying Aston Villa's Brazil. I'm saying that you can do it. You can do it. It's about making sure that the responsibility is shared and you structure it with 2 10s. It can be done, and that's why I keep saying that the preseason is going to be huge, because that's the opportunity for Gerrard to say, all right, here's what I can do. And the last thing that I'll say is Coutinho and Buendia together, being in the squad, whether one comes in, whatever, it's a good problem to have. If you want to get Europe, you need a deep squad. What happens if one of them gets injured? If you want to stick around in the 15th position, 16th place for the rest for 5 more years, then so be it. But if we want to fight for Europe, you need a deep squad, not just a deep 11.
The thing is, with the Watkins and Ings debate and the Coutinho and Buendia debate, there's one common factor in that period of time, in that period of play, was the midfield 3 wasn't balanced and it wasn't performing. And when them 3 weren't performing in the middle, that's when we suffered up top. But when it is right in the middle, they've excelled up top and they've performed. And I think good pre-season, good recruitment, and these players are going to flourish next season.
Everything keeps coming back to this number 6, doesn't it? That is such a critical sign in
That's
the summer.
the most important player to get in the summer.
Yeah.
That number 6 is the most important player. I mean, there's other people, there's other pieces that we need. Another center back, I think another striker will help. Although I'm rooting for Cam Archer to really show off what he can do. But that number 6 is absolutely crucial, by the way. And by the way, obviously Fabrizio Romano is part of my colleague and my friend and stuff. The Kamara situation, Villa has not just been interested recently, it's been a thing for a while. So I'm hoping that there's been a buildup of a relationship. The only obstacle, of course, is a player that wants Champions League or European football. That will be the key. So, it'll be interesting to see how we sell the product. But Justin's spot on. We need a number 6. We need to have that, and that should be if we get those pieces in, hey, I'm expecting, hopefully, at the very least, top 10 and then Europe. So we'll see what happens.
Buzzing. Right, so we'll end this episode there then. So be sure to check out the Golazo podcast on YouTube. It's quality. I've loved watching it recently as well. And Lou, thank you for coming on, and hopefully we can get you on soon as well.
No, boys, I really appreciate it. I love this. I love doing this. Anytime I get an opportunity to just yell about the Villa, especially from New York City, is great. So Ryan, Justin, Luke, I appreciate you all. Up the Villa. Let's get a big win on Thursday. And hey, you never know. Maybe we'll give Liverpool the trophy as well.
Hopefully. Right, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.